I'm Jessica Cabrera, a creative art therapist, mom, wife, Latina, and the voice behind serenity through art. This podcast was created from real life as a mom taking my child from one place to another while also working as a clinician. I often wonder, how could I stay connected to creativity and to other therapists when life is constantly moving? That's how Art Therapy on the Go was born. This podcast is for therapists, helping professionals and creatives who want to stay connected to creativity while navigating busy lives and meaningful work. Because this space is truly on the go, you might hear background sounds along the way. This isn't a meditation space. It's a place where I share art therapy insights, reflections, and studio aftercare ideas you can explore when you have the time. I also be inviting therapists and creatives who use art as a way to express themselves and connect with others. And to the Empowered Serenities listening, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to Serenity Through Art podcast, Art Therapy on the Go. I'm Jessica Cabrera, Empowered Serenities. Let's begin. Welcome, Empowered Serenities, to today's episode 3. Thank you for being in this space. Before we go deeper into today's topic, I want to take a few minutes to share something more personal, my own experience with both artist therapy and art therapy. Artist therapy, but also as a person, I've experienced both in very different ways. And there are moments in my life where I don't want to analyze anything. No analyzing. I don't want to structure. I just need to release my emotions in a creative form, especially being a mom, being on the go, holding space for others all day. Sometimes I don't have the capacity to go deeper in that moment. My brain's just like, ugh, I need a break. And in those times, I turn to art as therapy. There have been days where I'm in between responsibilities, like, maybe before feeding my daughter or after feeding my daughter, playing with her, or after a long day of sessions, and I just grab a pen and paper, just grab it. I don't think about what I'm creating. I don't plan it. I just let my hand move. It could be lines, shapes, scribbles. I love scribbles. Whatever comes out. Scribbles are my favorite, honestly. And I notice something shifts. It's not in a big dramatic way, but enough for me to feel like I released something. My emotions being released. Something I didn't have words for. And that's what artist therapy feels like for me. That's my experience. It's free, it's unstructured, and it meets me exactly where I'm at. Hopefully it could be relatable to whoever's listening. Now, my experience with art therapy is different. Art therapy holds a different level of intention. As a licensed creative art therapist in New York State, I've been trained to understand what can come up through art making process. It could be emotionally, psychologically. In sessions, I've seen how a simple drawing can open the door to something deeper. I love when that happens. Something that might not come out through words alone. But that space is held differently. It's not just about creating. It's about holding and understanding and supporting what comes up safely. That's the key word, safely. So for me, both exist. Artist therapy supports me as a person. Art therapy supports the work I do as a clinician. I don't always need to analyze. I don't always need to go deep thoughts. Sometimes I just need to create. And sometimes deeper understanding is needed. And that's something I want you to take with you today. Both are valuable. They're both valuable, they're both important, but they just serve different purposes. Let's start with today's topic, art as therapy versus art therapy. Today we're going to talk about something, as I mentioned earlier, very important, the difference between art therapy and art as therapy. And I would like to start by saying this clearly. Art is for everyone, is just used differently. Art as therapy is something anyone could do. Is using creativity as a way to express your emotions, release stress, reflect, reconnect with yourself. Some examples are drawing a line to represent your mood, coloring after a long day, journaling with doodles or sketches, trying different art mediums like paints, collages, or even digital art. That digital counts. There's no clinical interpretation, no right or wrong. It's simply you and the process. Okay, so that's art as therapy. Now going to art therapy. Art therapy is different. Art therapy is a clinical mental health practice provided by a licensed creative art therapist. I'm a licensed creative art therapist in New York State. It's not just about creating, it's about intention, clinical training, understanding emotional and psychological processes. Our therapists may use structured tools, assessments like house tree person, kinetic family drawing, Mandela assessments. These are not just drawings. They're used within a clinical framework to explore emotional patterns, development, and experiences safely. To understand why this matters, let me briefly share the process of becoming an art therapist in New York. I'm a licensed creative art therapist. Each states have their own requirements and process. I'm just focusing in New York. It's not just about being creative. It's a full clinical path. You need a master's degree. You must complete a master's in art therapy, creative arts therapy, which includes both psychology and art-based training. Clinical hours and supervision is included. You have to complete supervised clinical hours, working directly with clients under a licensed professional. So this is about licensure in New York. Again, each state is different. You become a licensed creative art therapist at LCAT in New York. This allows you to practice clinically, hold the therapeutical space, and use art therapy interventions appropriately. You continue learning and training and education to stay ethical and effective in your work. You have to go through all those training to stay ethical. So when we talk about art therapy, it's not just creating art. It's a trained clinical process that holds emotional and psychological depth safely. So this is things you need to keep an eye on, like what you cannot do. So I want to take this moment to clearly talk about boundaries, especially for therapists, helping professionals, and creative listening. Because while art is for everyone, art is for everyone. However, art therapy is a protected clinical practice. So here are some important things to understand. If you're not a licensed art therapist, you cannot present yourself as providing art therapy services. You cannot use the title art therapist unless you're probably trained and licensed. You have to remember and respect those boundaries. Even if you are a therapist, counselor, or a social worker, you cannot administer or formally interpret it. art therapy assessments like the house tree, person, kinetic family drawing, or Mandela assessments, in a clinical or diagnostic way. You cannot use artwork as a standalone diagnostic tool to make clinical conclusions. Important clarification. This is important clarification for everyone here that are listening. You can absolutely use art as therapy. You can invite clients to draw, reflect, use color, or express themselves creatively, as long as you're staying within your scope of practice and not presenting it as clinical art therapy. Before we end this episode, let's move into a Studio Aftercare moment. And today we're focusing on artist therapy. This is always going to be artist therapy. Something you can do on your own, freely and without pressure. If you have a few minutes later today, grab a piece of paper and anything to draw with. So once you have that, we could begin. Let's set a timer for 3 to 5 minutes. During this time, allow your hand to move freely on the page. No plan, no structure, just movements. You can draw lines, shapes, scribbles, whatever comes naturally. Try not to stop or overthink it. When the timer ends, pause and look what you created. Ask yourself, what do I notice? What feels familiar in this? Does this reflect anything I've been holding today? Remember, no need to analyze this deeply, just observe. Now if you feel called to, add one small element. A color, a shape, or a word that represents what you need right now. Something supportive, something grounding. Notice how this process felt. This is artist therapy, no interpretation, no clinical framework, just giving yourself space to express and reconnect. Even a few minutes like this can create a small shift in your energy. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, you could do this now, you could do this later. It's very short. It's artist therapy. The Studio Aftercare is going to be focusing as artist therapy. And again, if you like, you could use this, if you're a professional clinician, you could use this Studio Aftercare, right? You can, but again, making your own way, and it's artist therapy. Yeah, and looking forward to hear your experience. Thank you for being in this space, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care, Empowered Serenities. Thank you for spending this time in creative reflection. Remember, you can care deeply for others while still creating space for yourself. To the Empowered Serenities listening, stay grounded, stay creative, and move gently through your work. I'll see you next time on Serenity Through Our podcast, Art Therapy on the Go.